There are moments in life when forgiveness stops being a virtue and quietly turns into self-betrayal. You tell yourself you're being mature, understanding, above it all, but deep down, something feels wrong. Because the person didn't make a mistake, they made a choice. Stoicism never taught blind forgiveness. It taught clarity, self-respect, and the discipline to walk away when a line has been crossed. Some actions don't deserve another chance. Not because you are cruel, but because you are finally honest with yourself. This is not about holding grudges. It's about refusing to sacrifice your dignity for peace that never lasts. If someone does this to you, forgiving them won't make you strong. It will only teach them that access to you has no cost. Stoicism draws a clear line that most people ignore. Forgiveness is internal. Access is external. You can release anger without reopening the door. You can let go of resentment without inviting the same harm back into your life. Self-respect begins where tolerance ends. A Stoic does not forgive out of guilt, fear, or habit. He forgives to free his own mind, not to reward repeated disrespect. When forgiveness costs you your boundaries, it stops being wisdom. It becomes self-betrayal. Stoic philosophy was never about being agreeable. It was about protecting what cannot be replaced: your character, your values, and your inner peace. Red flag 1, they betray your trust. Knowingly. This is the heaviest one. So it comes first. They didn't misunderstand you. They didn't not realize what they were doing. They knew exactly where the line was and crossed it anyway. Trust is not an emotion, it is an agreement. When someone betrays that agreement knowingly, an apology does not undo the choice. Words spoken afterward do not erase intent formed beforehand. Stoicism teaches you to judge actions, not explanations. Patterns, not promises. Once trust is broken on purpose, the relationship has already changed at its core. Forgiving this does not restore harmony. It teaches them that consequences are optional. Observe patterns, not apologies. Red flag 2, they repeat the same disrespect. After being confronted. Everyone can make a mistake once. A Stoic understands that. But when you clearly express a boundary, calmly, directly, and the behavior continues, this is no longer a misunderstanding. You explained, you clarified, you gave them the benefit of awareness, and they chose to ignore it. At that point, the issue is not communication, it is character. Repeated disrespect after confrontation is not conflict, it is a decision to value their comfort over your dignity. Stoicism does not ask you to keep negotiating your self-respect. A boundary explained twice is no longer a boundary. It becomes a suggestion, and Stoics do not live on suggestions. Red flag 3, they turn your forgiveness into permission. This is where many disciplined people fall. You forgive to stay peaceful. They interpret that forgiveness as weakness. Each time you let it slide, they learn something dangerous, that access to you comes without consequence. Your patience becomes a resource they exploit. Your empathy becomes a tool. Stoicism is clear here. Kindness without boundaries is not virtue. It is self-neglect. When forgiveness leads to repeated harm, the problem is no longer emotional. It is ethical. A person who grows better after forgiveness deserves it. A person who grows bolder after forgiveness has revealed a flaw of character. And character, not emotion, determines who stays in your life. Red flag 4, they play the victim. After hurting you, watch carefully what happens when you finally speak up. Instead of accountability, they shift roles. Suddenly, they are the wounded ones. You are made to feel harsh, unreasonable, or cruel. This is not remorse. It is deflection. Guilt replaces responsibility. Emotion replaces ownership. Stoicism teaches clarity over confusion, and confusion is exactly what this tactic creates. When someone hurts you and then centers their own pain, they are not seeking resolution, they are avoiding consequences. Remember this principle. Guilt is not accountability. Anyone who cannot face the impact of their actions will repeat them. Red flag 5. They violate your core. Values, not just your feelings. Feelings can be repaired. Values cannot. A Stoic understands the difference. If someone clashes with your core principles, honesty, loyalty, respect, integrity, the relationship is already unstable at its foundation. You may still care, you may still feel attached, but alignment is gone. Stoicism does not prioritize emotional comfort over moral clarity. When values are violated, the issue is no longer personal. It becomes ethical. At that point, staying is not compassionate. It is self-compromise. And when a relationship requires you to abandon your values to maintain peace, that peace is false. The ending has already occurred. You're just late in accepting it. You don't need to hate anyone to walk away. You don't need to explain yourself, and you don't need closure. Stoicism was never about enduring everything. It was about knowing what is worth enduring and what is not. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, betrays your trust, or violates your values, distance becomes wisdom. Not punishment, not revenge. Self-respect is quiet. It doesn't argue, it withdraws. Walk away calmly. Protect your peace without guilt, because the moment you stop betraying yourself for the sake of forgiveness, you don't lose people. You reclaim your integrity.